was taken. We've got a lot going on today, I got to tell you that, and we are right in the middle of a case out of Tennessee against Robin Howington. This has actually kind of become a bad parenting week with the cases we're covering. Robin Howington is accused of the death of her 5-year-old daughter, Destiny. She has had so many stories about how this death occurred. It was an intruder. It was the father of the child. Maybe it was the 2-year-old, her 2-year-old, that did it. But right now, the closing arguments are underway in this case in which she is accused of killing, by felony murder, her own 5-year-old daughter. So we've got for you the closing arguments that have been underway for a bit now. Prosecution, obviously, then the defense, and then some rebuttal by the prosecution. The jury is going to get this case very soon. Let's go back into court right now for more of the prosecution's closing argument.
8:48:52. Returns after she moves her car. You all saw that on the video. She moves her car. Takes a couple minutes to do that, and then she goes back inside. After she gets in the home, there's about 3 minutes before she calls 911. Here's the portion of the video where she is calling 911. And this is important. It's important because when she calls 911, what is she doing? What are her actions? First of all, it's important to note that when she calls 911, her reaction to her child that has just been shot and who is mortally wounded, her reaction to that is not to get on the phone and tell the 911 operator exactly what's happened. Her choice, her decisions, her actions, her words to the 911 operator are lies. She decides. This detective doesn't make her say anything to 911. Detective Warlock doesn't make her say anything to 911. Ms. Howington is responsible for her actions and for her words. And her immediate response to her child being shot in the chest, her immediate response is to get on the phone and call 911 and start spinning a story. Start blaming it on someone else. And why? Why? Ask yourself, why would she do that? Ms. Howington lies to 911 and spins this web of lies because she's trying to protect Gavin. She does these things because she's trying to protect herself. She's trying to protect Robin Howington. But she knows right away, when she's on the phone with 911, right away, that leaving her gun out and allowing her children access to her gun is her fault. And it's tragic, ladies and gentlemen. You will not hear the state say that she purposely shot her child or she wanted this to happen. That's not what we're saying to you. What we are saying to you, and what the proof shows in this case, is that Destiny died because of her negligence. This was an avoidable death. Ms. Howington is responsible for the death of this child, as sad as it is. Ms. Howington does not want to take any responsibility for anything that happened to her. Any responsibility. Not only does she lie to the 911 operator, she gets rid of the gun. She hides this gun that was used to shoot her child. She takes it outside while on the phone with 911, while her daughter is in the house having been shot. It's more important for her to leave that house and to put that gun outside in the dark. You can see the gun in this picture. Remember, the officer testified because he has a really bright light on his hand. Those first set of pictures, when he's coming around that corner, you can see just how dark it is. just how dark it is back in that corner of the house, the side of the house. She takes this gun that was used to shoot this little boy. Her first reaction is to take this gun and take it outside and hide it under a bush. Why would she do that? She's conscious of her own harm. She knows that she is the mother that and the other child.
Kind of wonder sometimes if they do things on purpose. You know, this is the prosecution, Ms. McDermott. She looks like a mom. No, she's just a mom just talking to this jury about this horrible thing that happened at the hands of the other mom, the defendant in this case. It works. It works. Today we have Philip Hamilton here. He's in studio. Always good to have him along. Also, Catherine Luzardo. She is a trial attorney in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Philip in the criminal defense world. So good to have you both along as always. Philip, you know, we look at a case like this, and we just talked about it a moment ago. The first thought you think is, what's the motive here? If in fact this mother killed her 5-year-old, why? I mean, how does that happen? What is your thought? Yes, we know. Don't have to prove motive, but the jury is going to be asking the same question we are.
Yeah, motive is never going to be an element of any given offense, and clearly it's not here. But I mean, Michael, any rational, healthy, mentally stable parent is going to want to know, why would another parent kill their child, right? This is a ball of love. This is the greatest, most precious gift that one can receive as a parent. And to think about fatally shooting that child, as a juror, you're just, whether you need to know it or not, going to want to know why. Now, as the defense, I think you can do a good job here of explaining, look, because there's no motive, because they can't prove why ultimately she would do the most heinous act a human being could do, what we're telling you about her looking out for her 2-year-old and trying to protect her son, that's why this is a more viable defense. She's being the mother in terms of trying to protect her son. That takes care of all the lies. It excuses everything that she did that's questionable leading up to this. And I think that's the way you have to play it as a
I do like that, too. I do like that little spin. I mean, she came up with a number of different stories, but that one, it does at least make a little more sense, Philip. Catherine, you're a mom. I mean, what do you think? If you're on this jury, what do you need to know to let Robin Howington walk for what she's been accused of doing?
Well, as a mom, I cannot think of anything that would let her walk at this point of what I've heard throughout this trial and the closing arguments, because I have 2 kids as well, like she does. And what's stuck in my mind is thinking that with all of her different stories, 4 stories that she came up with as to how Destiny was killed and shot, at the end of the day, she's letting a 2-year-old, her 2-year-old son, grow up and believe that he shot and killed his sister, that she would rather have Gavin believe that. As a mom, if I was the one who did it, and like what my colleague is saying, a rational, loving mom would not allow your 2-year-old son to grow up believing that you killed your own sister.
Yeah, there was actually a documentary I remember just recently where that was sort of the story, that the young child grew up thinking just that and then learned later on that it was the parent that did the deal. So life stranger than fiction, perhaps. So important on that the 2-year-old did it theory, the prosecution's closing points out that might have been difficult even if you want to believe the story. How could a 2-year-old get to the gun? Let's watch more of the prosecution closing.
The next thing she's going to say is that her 2-year-old gets a stool from inside of the living room, drags it the whole way through the room to her bedroom, climbs up on the stool, and gets the gun from the top of the closet. Because again, she wants the police to think that she has responsibly secured this gun, that she's put it in the top of the closet. Her kids shouldn't have access to it. That's not true. Here she's saying Gavin gets the gun out of the closet, and that she saw him take the stool across the room and do that.
Put these squat on here. Okay. You're 15 minutes longer. You went through to tell us what happened prior to what happened when you encountered your boy's birthday or Destiny's daddy.
Destiny was laying here. She was watching Netflix. I was sitting here. And Gavin was at beside me. And he was already outside. He came in. And he started screaming and yelling. And we got tussling. And the baby got the stool. We went into my bedroom.
This is still right here.
Yes.
Okay, you ain't going to show me. Where's your bed today? Before we leave, we'll get a picture of this.
Yes, sir.
Look, it's up here. Hey, will you move these stools? Is the little bar stool right there? See that little stool? Where you on the road?
Did you see him moving the stool? Yes.
Did you put that stool back on the grid? Get out as a 2-year-old. Well, they were here.
They were out.
The hotel on Cumberland Avenue, what's the grid? There's no way.
So in this version, she is saying that she saw Gavin get the stool, take the stool to the closet, climb up. I don't suppose she said she saw him climb up in the stool. What he would have had to do is climb up in the stool and get the gun from the top of the closet. That's the walkthrough that happened in September 4th, early of September 15th. And so then we have her come in just a couple days later, September 17th of 2019. Here's what she says. The officer's going to ask her, "Did you see him get the gun out of the closet? Move his
You saw him get the stool. Now you're saying you didn't see him get the stool. So there's
I can make a mistake, correct?
yeah, you can make a mistake, but I would think that that wouldn't be, a mistake you make right there, right?
And so Detective Wardlaw says to her, "You told us before that you saw him get the gun, or excuse me, saw him get the stool, and now you're saying that you didn't." She says, "Oh, I made a mistake." But that's not a mistake. She is lying. And the reason it's important, as I've said before, for her to lie about this is because she knows that the police need to be thinking that that gun is in the top of the closet. Because that's the only way she's not negligent. And because of what she says, Gavin has to get measured. Officer Tonkin there, they've got a gummy bear, he's reaching up. He's 45 inches. He's not tall enough to reach a purse in the top of the closet.
Such an important visual there. You know, guys, it's been a while since I've had a 2-year-old bopping around the house, although I have been accused of acting like a 2-year-old more recently. But it's got to be, the most amazing 2-year-old ever to physically be able to do what the defense is suggesting happened here, Catherine. The jury, I think if they don't buy it, they get mad when they hear this story.
I have a 4-year-old son, so I'm closer in age of seeing a 2-year-old and imagining a 2-year-old be able to do that, to pick up a stool and watch. And what's interesting is a reasonable parent would tell you that watching a 2-year-old pick up a stool, go to your closet, to your bedroom and closet, and try to get on top of the stool to try to reach a gun, at some point, as you're watching this, your instinct would be to stop your 2-year-old from doing that, right? So how could a 2-year-old reach for the gun and then walk back to where Destiny was sitting, was laying down and watching Netflix? It does not make any sense whatsoever.
You know, and Philip, to the point that this is, I think, the best of her stories, it's still got a lot of problems. And we have to remember that there are other charges against her. If she somehow beats the top charge, Philip, she's got the tampering, but more importantly, with regard to the kids, aggravated child neglect. I think if you believe her story about the stool and not watching the kid and he gets the gun, that's neglect on its face. But I guess that's, Philip, a win if you're the defense here.
It's a win, but it's a win, as we know, going very much so up a stream, okay? And I think here, Michael, what we're dealing with is whenever your theory of defense is coming together, you're speaking with your client, you're also looking at the evidence that's there. You know, I can't sit up here and say that any of us have sat down and spoken with this particular defendant. But I think certainly, and this is to Catherine's point, you'd have a little bit more credibility to just say that the gun wasn't up top and that you were just negligent in the sense that the gun was just at some place that was a little bit more accessible. And maybe you have to eat a charge there, but I think it's a little bit more realistic and a little bit more credibility you get based on the defense that you're trying to put forward, as opposed to, yes, the 2-year-old crawled, 8 feet up in the closet to get the gun. It's tough.
That's a great point, because the truth never changes. But if your story is constantly evolving, maybe you haven't thought it through, like, okay, I need to get the gun out of the reach of the child, but if I do that, I now have a superhuman 2-year-old. There's some problems. Okay, we're going to take a break. When we come back, again, we're in Tennessee for the Howington case. Jury's going to have this pretty quick, like defense closing coming up. Stay where you are. Be right back.